Welcome back to Next Gear Auto, where we bring you the world's most exciting cars, legendary performance machines, and the latest automotive stories. If you love raw power, aggressive styling, and cars that deliver an unforgettable driving experience, make sure you subscribe to Next Gear Auto and turn on notifications, because you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. Today, we're talking about one of the most iconic American sports cars ever built, the Dodge Viper. This is not a car that was designed to be polite, comfortable, or easy to drive. The Viper was created to deliver extreme performance with a huge naturally aspirated V10 engine, dramatic styling, and a driving experience that made it completely different from almost anything else on the road. The Dodge Viper first appeared in the early 1990s, and right from the beginning, it had a completely different philosophy from traditional American performance cars. While many sports cars focused on technology, comfort, and refinement, the Viper went in the opposite direction. It was big, loud, powerful, and unapologetically mechanical. Under the hood was the feature that made the Viper truly legendary, a massive V10 engine. Over the years, Dodge continued improving the engine, increasing displacement and power while maintaining the naturally aspirated character that became one of the Viper's biggest attractions. The later generations became especially impressive. The Viper's massive 8.4-liter V10 eventually produced around 645 horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are still serious today, but what made the Viper special wasn't just the horsepower figure. It was the way that power was delivered. There was no small turbocharged engine hiding behind sophisticated technology. There was no complicated hybrid system helping the driver. Instead, the Viper relied on a huge naturally aspirated engine connected to a manual transmission. And that manual transmission is another major part of the Viper experience. For enthusiasts, rowing through the gears yourself is one of the reasons the Viper remains so desirable. The car demands attention. You have to respect the throttle, understand the road, and know how much power is available under your right foot. The Viper's exterior design is just as dramatic as its engine. The long hood, low roofline, wide body, huge air intakes, muscular fenders, and aggressive front end give the car an unmistakable presence. Even standing still, the Viper looks like it is ready to attack the road. Unlike many modern sports cars that use complicated aerodynamic shapes and sharp electronic design elements, the Viper's appearance has always been about raw aggression. It looks powerful because it is powerful. Depending on the generation and trim, the Viper was available in different body styles and performance-focused configurations. Later models included the Viper SRT and the extremely capable ACR, or American Club Racer. The ACR became particularly famous among performance enthusiasts because Dodge transformed the Viper into an incredible track machine. With aerodynamic upgrades, performance suspension, massive brakes, specialized tires, and a huge rear wing, the Viper ACR was designed to attack racetracks. And this is where the Viper's reputation really became legendary. The car wasn't simply fast in a straight line. It could also deliver serious track performance when properly set up. The Viper ACR demonstrated just how capable this massive American sports car could be when Dodge focused heavily on aerodynamic performance and handling. Inside the cabin, the Viper was also very different from modern luxury sports cars. You weren't buying a Viper because you wanted a quiet, relaxing interior filled with screens and luxury features. The interior was designed around the driver and the driving experience. Modern cars often try to isolate the driver from the road. The Viper did almost the opposite. You could feel the engine, the road, the transmission, and the mechanical character of the car. That raw personality is exactly what makes the Viper so appealing to collectors today. Of course, the Viper wasn't perfect. Its enormous engine meant fuel economy was never a major priority. The car could also be intimidating because of the amount of torque available. Earlier Vipers were especially famous for demanding respect from their drivers. The combination of rear-wheel drive, enormous power, a lightweight sports car body, and a manual transmission created a driving experience that could become unforgiving if the driver made a mistake. But that danger was also part of the attraction. The Viper came from an era when performance cars were allowed to have personality. It wasn't trying to be everything for everyone. It had a clear mission: give the driver an outrageous American sports car experience. And then there is the sound. The V10 produces a deep, aggressive exhaust note that is instantly recognizable. It doesn't sound like a turbocharged four-cylinder or a high-revving exotic V8. The Viper has its own character. That huge naturally aspirated V10 is one of the main reasons collectors continue to appreciate the car. Unfortunately, the Dodge Viper's production run eventually came to an end. The final Viper was produced in 2017, marking the end of an important chapter in American automotive history. The end of production also changed the Viper from simply being an old performance car into something much more interesting for collectors. So, what does a Dodge Viper cost today? The answer depends heavily on the generation, mileage, condition, specifications, and whether the car is a rare special edition. Older first-generation Vipers can sometimes be found in the used market for prices in the tens of thousands of dollars, although exceptional examples can command significantly more. Later generation Vipers generally cost considerably more. Clean, low-mileage examples can commonly reach the six-figure range, especially when they have desirable specifications or limited production configurations. The final generation Viper is particularly interesting because production ended in 2017. Depending on mileage, condition, history, and trim, many desirable examples can be priced around $100,000 to well above $200,000. Highly collectible versions, especially rare ACR models and special editions, can command even higher prices. That means the Viper has become more than just a used sports car. For the right buyer, it can also be a collectible piece of American automotive history. If you were shopping for a Viper today, the first thing you should consider is the generation. A first-generation car gives you the purest version of the original Viper concept. It is raw, simple, and incredibly dramatic. A later generation car offers more power, improved technology, better brakes, stronger chassis development, and a more refined driving experience while maintaining the Viper's unmistakable character. And if maximum track performance is your priority, the ACR deserves serious attention. But there is another important question. Should you actually buy one? If you're looking for a comfortable daily driver, the Viper probably isn't the obvious choice. But if you want a weekend performance car that feels special every time you start the engine, the Viper becomes much more attractive. Few cars can provide the same combination of huge displacement, naturally aspirated power, rear-wheel drive, manual transmission, aggressive styling, and American heritage. The Viper also represents something that is becoming increasingly rare. Modern performance cars are becoming more technologically advanced. Turbochargers, hybrid systems, advanced stability controls, automatic transmissions, electronic differentials, and sophisticated driver assistance systems have transformed the performance car industry. Those technologies can make cars faster and easier to drive, but the Viper represents a different philosophy. It asks the driver to participate. You don't simply point the car down the road and let technology handle everything. You become part of the experience. That's why the Viper continues to attract enthusiasts even years after production ended. From its enormous V10 to its aggressive bodywork and manual transmission, nearly every part of the Viper tells the same story. This car was built for people who wanted something extreme. And that makes its legacy incredibly important. The Dodge Viper helped prove that an American manufacturer could build a genuine world-class exotic sports car without copying the traditional European formula. It had its own identity. It had its own engine. It had its own sound. And most importantly, it had its own personality. Today, finding a clean Viper can be a serious challenge, especially if you're looking for a low-mileage example with original specifications and a documented history. Collectors are increasingly interested in cars from this era because they represent the end of a certain automotive philosophy. The Viper is one of those cars that feels increasingly special every year. As naturally aspirated engines become rarer and manual transmissions continue disappearing from performance cars, the Viper's combination of both becomes even more meaningful. So, if we had to summarize the Dodge Viper in just a few words, it would be simple: raw American performance. It isn't the easiest sports car to drive. It isn't the most comfortable. It isn't the most technologically advanced. But that's exactly why people love it. The Dodge Viper was never designed to be ordinary. It was designed to be remembered. And decades after its debut, the Viper remains one of the most recognizable and fascinating performance cars ever produced in America. Whether you prefer the original RT-10, the later GTS, the powerful SRT generations, or the extreme ACR, each Viper has its own place in automotive history. And when you see that enormous V10 sitting under the hood, hear the engine come alive, and realize that you're connected to a 6-speed manual transmission, you understand why the Viper has developed such a passionate following. For pricing, Remember that the market can vary dramatically. As a general guide, older examples may start around the $50,000 range depending on condition, while desirable later generation cars can easily reach $100,000 to $200,000 or more. Rare, low mileage, highly collectible versions can go beyond that range. The exact price depends on the car's year, mileage, condition, history, modifications, trim level, and rarity, so anyone shopping for a Viper should carefully inspect the individual vehicle rather than relying only on an average market price. And that brings us to the end of today's look at the Dodge Viper. If you enjoyed this video and want more reviews, performance car stories, pricing information, and automotive content from the American car market, make sure you subscribe to Next Gear Auto. Hit the like button if you think the Dodge Viper deserves legendary status, and let us know in the comments. Would you choose a Dodge Viper over a modern high-tech supercar? Thanks for watching Next Gear Auto. Drive safe, stay passionate about cars, and we'll see you in the next video.